One of the most radical breaks with the Christian past occurred when British naturalist Charles Darwin, who lived from 1809 to 1882, theorized that all plants and animals, including human beings, develop through an inevitable and brutal process of natural selection of the fittest. As we look at the history of 20th century ideas for explanations of our modern hopelessness and fragmentation, we must realize that the chaos around us did not simply appear out of nowhere. The changes in our society came because we changed our ideas about the basis of life.
The break with the past, begun by the Enlightenment philosophers and the Romantic movement's writers, poets, and composers, continues in our own era. In 1859, the old world of Christian and Jewish religious beliefs began to disintegrate with the publication of Darwin's book, The Origin of Species. In this book, Darwin lays the foundation for a renewed faith in science. To many, Darwin's theories discredit the idea that humans are created in the image of God. As we will see, others later interpreted Darwin's theories as denying the worth and dignity formerly attributed to people who are created in God's image. After Darwin, it was generally believed that human beings are not separate from the animal world, but that we are merely part of the cycle of life. Darwin became an international hero. For many, his theories became unchallenged truth. British playwright George Bernard Shaw noted that the world jumped at Darwin. J.D. Rockefeller used Darwin's ideas as a basis for justifying industrial monopoly. Andrew Carnegie expressed his conversion to Darwinism. Carnegie wrote,
"Light came in as a flood and all was clear. Not only have I got rid of theology and the supernatural, but I have found the truth of evolution."
Political leaders such as Adolf Hitler used Darwin's theory of the survival of the fittest as a convenient excuse to execute people considered undesirable. Hitler perpetrated genocide against the Jewish race in the name of racial natural selection. Besides evolution, other radical ideas emerged in the late 19th century. One of these concepts was Marxist socialism.
Karl Marx was influenced by Darwin. Marx believed that one of the few certainties in life is change. According to Marx, people are not solely responsible for their actions. Instead, history and nature also shape mankind. Marx's well-known work, the Communist Manifesto, which was completed in 1848, suggested that man is a reflection of his material possessions and his economic status. Marx saw capitalism as a secularized version of Christianity. Therefore, part of Marx's thesis in the Communist Manifesto argues for the destruction of capitalism. As Darwin questioned the created order, and Marx questioned the social order, a group of artists known as the Impressionists began to question the nature of reality itself. Was there really anything absolute, such as God, beyond human perception? Did reality actually exist, independent of our perception of it? Impressionism portrays a misty, almost gauzy world. A world of vague impressions of light and shadow. A world with no hard edges, no absolutes. Claude Monet was one of those who painted his own perception of what he saw. In this painting, Haystack at Sunset near Giverny, which Monet painted in 1891, Monet simply records the sensation that the light beams made on his retina. Another artist who questioned the nature of reality was the French painter Auguste Renoir. His painting, Le Moulin de la Galette, is of an open-air dance with some of his own friends in the foreground. Le Moulin de la Galette is striking because of its blurred vision, unclear structure, and spots of color. In fact, the painting's first viewers thought that Renoir's spots of sunlight dappled by the leaves were mistakes.
Impressionism is an art style that rejects the idea of reality as we know it. As its name indicates, this art style tries to portray the subjective impressions we see rather than objective reality itself. The questions raised by these paintings is whether there is anything behind the light beams. Is reality only a series of uncertain impressions? Thus, there's a philosophical dilemma raised by Impressionist ideas. If reality merely depends on our visual perception of it, how is one to know whether the real world objectively exists? Impressionists like Claude Monet were never really able to answer this question.
After the Impressionists, a new generation of artists began to experiment with new styles. George Seurat, a leading post-impressionist, even tried to apply scientific principles of color and light to his huge canvases.